Our Across the Aisle segment tonight, Democratic Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi is speaking out against President Trump's tax cuts. But don't expect her criticism to resonate with ordinary Americans, at least anytime soon. Pelosi is one of the richest members of Congress. She dismissed the bonuses that many companies are giving their workers due to the lower tax rates. Pelosi called the bonuses crumbs, and she said they're pathetic. Now, these bonuses are anywhere between $1,000 and $2,000 per year per person. That's hardly crumbs for most people. Take a listen to Congresswoman Pelosi.
A number of companies are attributing the tax bill for being able to give higher wages to their employees, as well as being able to give a number of bonuses to their employees. How do you respond to that?
Well, the number of bonuses that were given, well, one of the bonuses was already in a union contract, and then they added a little more money to that. That same firm just told their employees that they were going to be laying off 1,500 people, and if they wanted to save their jobs, they could all start working 32 hours in those communities. So in terms of the bonus that corporate America received versus the crumbs that they are giving to workers to kind of put the schmooze on is so pathetic. It's so pathetic. And I would hope that with their big advantage of bringing money home at a very low rate, that they would invest in infrastructure and things. But our experience has been that they will do dividends, they will do stock buybacks and things like that. I think it's insignificant.
With me now, history professor and author of Obama's America, Ian Reifowitz. Ian, good to see you.
Good to be back, Liz.
All right, Ian, let me ask you, $1,000 to $2,000 bonuses per year per employee. These are everyday Americans, not elitists like Nancy Pelosi. Are $1,000 to $2,000 bonuses crumbs?
Well, elitists like Nancy Pelosi and Donald Trump, we should add, if we're talking about rich people.
It wasn't Donald Trump who called these bonuses crumbs. Well, he actually celebrated these bonuses. It was Nancy Pelosi who said they were crumbs.
But if we're going to talk about who's rich, let's be clear about who's rich. If every American worker got $2,000 bonus, that would be great. I give you credit for playing the full quote from Pelosi. I thought it was actually pretty effective that she pointed out that some of the bonuses were already, in this one case, already in the union contract. But the real question is this. Look, this is a political fight over what I call the rich man's tax cut that just got passed by Trump and the Republicans. What kind of credit is it going to get for whatever wage growth there is? So I wanted to see what real business experts were saying. So I looked this up, and there was a writer named Connor Sen, who's a hedge fund specialist in Atlanta. He writes for Bloomberg News, and he wrote an article that's called, quote, "Tax reform is just the excuse to raise wages." And he added, quote, "The tight labor market is the real reason." And that really is the reason why wages are going up. That's
why are these companies? There's 164 companies that are giving away millions of dollars to their employees in the form of bonuses. There are an additional, I think, dozen companies at least that are raising their minimum wage to $15 an hour voluntarily, something that the Democrats have been fighting for many years. All of these companies are crediting the tax cuts for why they have enough money in order to pass that along to their employees. Why are Democrats trying to pretend that this is not a good thing for employees? Why are they pretending that this amount of money makes no difference to working class Americans? Doesn't that just make Democrats like Nancy Pelosi seem more out of touch and more elitist than ever before?
Well, what I'd ask is, why would you believe the companies that the tax cut is the reason that they're giving these wage increases? A. B, 164 companies is great, but there are millions and millions of companies in America.
It's 2 million people. Ian, you're belittling 2 million people who are getting up to $2,000 a year. I mean, Nancy Pelosi called that insignificant. Do you believe that's insignificant?
What was wage growth before the tax cuts? Because we're talking about data here. You have to compare before and after. In 2016, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, okay, remember, this is the career civil servants who produce the data that Donald Trump loves now, although he hated it when it had good results for Obama, but he loves it now. 2016 wage growth was 2.9% in America. That was the highest it had been since before the George W. Bush recession. 2017, before the tax cuts were passed, which happened at the very end of the year, basically same policies as under Obama. You had 2.5% wage growth. There has been wage growth over the last few years
right,
because
and
of the
that's fine,
tight
but that's not what
labor
we're talking
market,
about.
Tight labor market.
We're talking about the 164 companies who have credited the tax cuts as the reason for giving their employees bonuses. And I guess let me just even make it more basic. Do you think it's bad for people to keep more of their own money?
I think it's bad for companies to lie about why they're giving bonuses and wage increases. I don't believe them for a second. If you've been in business, American businesses are
Why would they give their employees bonuses and claim it's because of the tax cuts if it's not?
Okay. Because the tax cuts help the bottom line of the shareholders and the executives. The reason companies raise wages is not
But if they help the bottom line of the businesses
because,
they help the employees because they raise the minimum wage and give them bonuses, why do Democrats hate that? Do Democrats hate that because they hate the idea of capitalism and the individual business owner and entrepreneurs being in charge of the market rather than government distributing money around to everyone?
Right, let me get through to the end of this point because it's an important one. Companies don't raise wages because they get a tax cut. Companies raise wages because they have no choice in order to keep their employees because they don't want to lose their employees. That's how capitalism works.
No, I don't understand
Labor
that.
is
You
a part of the supply and demand
that's logically
economy.
inconsistent. We
No,
literally saw before our very eyes that that's what happens, and you're denying reality. You're saying what we saw happen didn't happen. That's why Americans didn't vote for Democrats in the last election, because not only do they claim to be for the working man, but they're not really supportive of the working man. They actually deny reality that happens before their very eyes. These companies gave bonuses to employees because the companies had more money because of tax cuts, because of corporate tax rates that were cut, and Democrats are denying that that's happening. I don't understand why.
Because that's not what's happening. They are giving raises because unemployment is at 4.1%, because it dropped from 10% to 4.8% in Obama's last few years. Because if you read the New York Times article recently, companies are having to hire employees who have a prison record, which is something that they weren't doing it a couple of years ago. There is a tight labor market, and if companies don't give wage increases, they're going to lose the employees they've trained.
Well, it seems awfully funny to me. It seems awfully funny to me then that they didn't do this. That these 164 companies did this just in the 2 weeks after tax reform has been passed, and that none of them announced these types of increases, bonuses, or wage increases before the tax cuts came around. I think that's why the Democratic Party has a problem, because they fundamentally don't believe that people deserve more of their own money, or that people keeping more of their own money is actually a good thing. They think government knows best, and that is not what the people want. Ian, I do appreciate you debating this topic. Thanks for being on the show. Our final tipping point of the night. Mark Wahlberg donates his salary in Michelle Williams' name to the #TimesUp campaign. And by doing so, he does a disservice to women in business everywhere. I don't often defend elitist Hollywood celebrities, but today I am. We'll be right back with that.